Kimberly Guilfoyle along with Richard Fowler, Jesse Waters, Dana Perino, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 9 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. Thank you for joining us. We hope you all enjoyed your holiday weekend. On this Memorial Day, we honor our fallen heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice to protect our freedom. You and your families are in our thoughts and in our prayers. We also want to thank the men and women currently serving in our armed forces. We pray for your safety and for your families. We are living in very dangerous and uncertain times with waves of terror gripping the globe. But President Trump vows America will aggressively confront the threat and warned the Muslim world recently it must as well.
There can be no coexistence with this violence. There can be no tolerating it, no accepting it, no excusing it, and no ignoring it. This is a battle between barbaric criminals who seek to obliterate human life and decent people. Drive them out of your communities. Drive them out of your holy land. And drive them out of this earth.
We cannot tolerate terror. We must confront it. A BBC commentator has a surprisingly different perspective. She offered it on air following the devastating new attack in the UK last week. She thinks we must learn to accept the barbarity.
Europe is getting used to attacks like this, Mika. We have to, because we are never going to be able to totally wipe this out. As ISIS gets squeezed in Syria and Iraq, we're going to see more of these kinds of attacks taking place in Europe, and Europe is starting to get used to that.
Okay, Greg, people should reject this idea that we should just accept terror and learn to coexist.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting contrast because there's nothing more refreshing than blunt language at times. And that's what, whether you like them or not, that's what you get for Trump. That is the most blunt, I guess, explanation of what one must do to fight terror. Catty K, not okay. Imagine saying, get used to it to certain other injustices, like to a bullied child. Just gonna have to get used to it, or a victim of racism or domestic abuse, spousal abuse. So
sexual assault.
Yeah, so there's separate levels of judgments for injustice. Acts that are perpetuated in society, you are not okay, but if it's from an outsider, or if it's from somebody that has a grievance, real or manufactured, in this case manufactured, radical Islam, but they're adopting the grievance kind of culture, we have to get used to it.
Dana, do you think this kind of attitude, if people have that, just coexist, to accept it, sort of become one with the idea that we live in a world of terror, is dangerous?
Not exactly sure that's what she means. I think she was also trying to be very practical. And the truth is that Europe does have a severe problem. They are infested with terrorists all the way across the continent. And that's been because of several decades of allowing basically unfettered immigration. And now they can't track them down. And the thing is that it's not just refugees who just arrived last month that are causing the problems. It's the children of refugees, so it's the next generation that have some sort of vengeance that they want to exact. So I don't agree, though, with the defeatist attitude.
Sure.
Like, never accept it, and I think there's got to be a whole different way of fighting it. And when President Trump met with NATO members, I think the other thing that he was doing is not just making sure that they knew that they had to pay up so that we could all work together on this, but also he's preparing for a very big decision on Afghanistan and a new approach to that. And there's a debate within the White House as to what that should be. And I think that this foreign trip that he just took will actually lead him to wanting to do more, because I feel like he had this transformation over the past 6 months. And in particular, when he's there in Europe, there's this massive terrorist attack. And then everyone looks to him like, you're the leader of the free world. What are we going to do? And he says with very strong language, like, we're not going to put up with it. So that's, I think, on the table for him in the next couple of weeks. I think you'll see a stronger position put forward on at least the Afghanistan
I think
policy.
that's so interesting, because I was listening to an interview and read a piece from Daniel Henninger in the Wall Street Journal, and talking about how there was an impact on President Bush as well, after 9/11, and these things that are transformative experiences. You were there. Right.
Well, because, for example, nobody campaigns because they want to go to war. They campaign to be president because they want to make schools better, or reduce taxes. President Trump's was, let's make America great again. Obama's, hope and change. And then when stuff happens on your watch and you become the responsible party, you do have a different attitude towards it, and then you become the decider, and you have to move forward.
All right, Jesse, so the president having a very consistent message, during the campaign, put America first, make America safe again, and then now telling the world we must drive them out for terrorists and people who practice jihad.
I thought it was a terrific rhetorical flourish. Drive them out, drive them out, drive them out. He had a great overseas trip. He went there with still an America First attitude. The Saudi arms deal, $110 billion. We're getting jobs. We're getting cash for that deal. And then we're letting the Saudis take the lead in confronting the Iranians and other bad actors in the region. That's one thing. Number two, he put the onus on the Muslim world. America is not going to be able to defeat these Islamic fascists by ourselves. We've recognized the limitations of doing that during the Bush administration and then also in the Obama administration. They're going to have to be the tip of the spear unless we're going to drive these people out. He put some pressure on the clerics that this is not a war on Christianity versus Israelis versus Islam. This is a war of savages versus civilized people. And he kind of was uplifting, and he said, the Middle East used to be this amazing trade route where there are these shipping lanes and this is, the access from Asia into Europe and, this bedrock of civilization. Let's get back to that. Let's return to that prosperity because the prosperity is there. But until you guys drive out these awful, awful people, you're never going to have any success. You're not going to have families. You're not going to have money. You're not going to have safety. So I think the president was very effective in doing that. And then he came back to Israel, put a little, the bar a little high, I think, by saying I could possibly solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And then called these people losers. And I think calling them losers sets them up because he's very effective at branding, and it just shows that we will win when we defeat them because that's going to stop recruitment.
Right.
If no one wants to join a team that's losing. So I think he's really set that up effectively.
And he doubled down on it and called them losers again. People criticize him for saying, he goes, no, in fact, I'm sticking with it. Right. All right, welcome to the show. Great to see you again.
Good to be here.
Yeah.
Good to be here. Well, I think they are losers. I'll give you that one.
Way to go out on a limb, Fowler.
But here's the thing. I think there's a couple, and I do agree. I think we do have to drive them out. But I think you have to parse this, right? Because you have the ISIS fighters in Syria, in Iraq, and then you also have those folks who are self-radicalizing here in the United States and here in Europe. And solving those problems are two different things. And I think the third problem that we have here is the Syrian civil war. And you have to parse the Syrian civil war different from ISIS expansion. You can't deal with one. You have to see them as three different isolated things. And I think what I would hope to see from this administration is, one, how do we solve self-radicalizing here in the United States? Two, how do we defeat ISIS in the Middle East? And three, how do we come to some sort of resolution in the Syrian civil war and take Assad out? And if those two things aren't there, then I'm against it.
I don't know if I heard from President Trump that he wants to necessarily take Assad out in that speech in Saudi Arabia. I got the sense that he said, you know what, we're not going to try to impose our values. We're not going to initiate regime change. That has not necessarily been effective. I think he says, let's just kill ISIS and squeeze those people, and then we could maybe come to a political solution.
Well, I don't think you can because the reason why the reason why ISIS is growing is because of Assad primarily, right? Because he is saying, I'm going to gas people, I'm going to blow people up, and the Muslim community is saying, well, if you're going to blow us up, hell, we're going to join these people who are going to blow you up. So we've got to deal with Assad, and Assad has always been a problem. If we don't deal with him, ISIS will forever continue to expand.
Can I point out that this is a first for me on a show, that I've actually changed my mind based on what somebody else said?
Was it me or Fowler?
No, it's Dana. I've been sitting here for 5 minutes thinking that I was probably wrong about Katty Kay.
Oh.
I think that what she was saying was more like a depressed resignation over the events rather than saying,
just get used to it.
Get used to it. She wasn't saying get used to it. She says, sadly, this has become a regular thing. So I'm going to retract everything I just said in the beginning of the show.
Wow. You know what? Let me see if I can change your mind again.
A big win for Katty Kay.
Exactly.
I think Europeans have a different mindset towards terrorism because Europe went World War I, World War II. There's just been so much blood and tragedy at that continent. America's not used to that. And
let's not get used to it.
And we don't want to get used to that. We don't want to accept that. We don't want to normalize
Stiff upper lip
that.
is they would always talk, like during the IRA experience, it was like the whole thing was carry on.
Right.
Just get on with it, stiff upper lip. The upside of that is that, you don't let them get the best of you. The downside is, does it stop it? That's the.
And I don't think it does stop it. And I would say to the people that say Republican rhetoric is increasing recruitment for ISIS, which we've heard for the last 8 years, I would say what KDK said about we have to get used to it. If ISIS plays that on a loop on YouTube, I think that's a very effective recruitment strategy because ISIS is thinking, you know what?
Defeated.
The British have accepted business as usual. They've accepted the fact that we're going to be successful on the European continent.
Here's my pushback on that, and I rarely ever quote George Bush, but I will here. He was the one who said that we should never...
Roll the tape.
He's the one we should never cower to terror. And in never cowering to terror, you have to continue to live your lives. I think one speech that him or Dick Cheney gave, he talked about, go to Disney World, take your family on vacation, keep living. That's how you beat terrorism. The moment you increase security, you make people take their shoes off at the airport, you make them have 3-ounce bottles and not one 9-ounce bottle, which is pretty much the same thing.
It's got to be measures, though, Richard, that
make them win.
That make sense, that aren't arbitrary, right? That there's something that actually makes sense. I mean, I think you have to do a lot. It has to be a multifaceted approach. You have to be able to have the rhetoric that's there. You have to have the action and the military strength and might to back it up. You have to have a plan. You have to have real-time intelligence being developed and not just drone everybody to death, which is also kind of nice to do. But you don't get the information back on this Memorial Day. Just want to say.
Well, also because we know that these people that have committed the self-radicalization, every single one of them has been on the radar screen of law enforcement at some point. And then with this in particular, you have travel to Libya and a return, the connections. And it's, I don't fault law enforcement. I know that they're doing all that they can to share information, but at some point, can there be preemptive measures?
Yeah.
I agree.
To take them, to basically,
all the signs
I don't know
are
how
here.
you put somebody into custody before they've committed an act, but if you know that they're on the radar for a possible self-radicalization, I think that's a conversation that the world needs to have. Like, are we willing to do that?
When they come back from Libya.
The one thing I will say here before we go to break is that we can no longer afford to spill our blood and treasure on the Middle East. That has to be that's it. We cannot afford to spend any more blood and treasure in the Middle East, period.
No one wants to do that.
But what if you took the evil, if you removed it from the Middle East and you said, okay, there was this bloodthirsty horde coming from another planet. We wouldn't think about it like in a political way. We would think about it in a unifying way, as like we are fighting this group, a roving band of creatures that destroy and butcher young girls. And it's from it. We could actually we stop thinking about the Middle East. We're thinking about the actual faction. Right. We have to start thinking like that. But I guarantee you, there will be a group of people that say, those people from Planet X, you know, that's their culture. We should lay off.
That's what Trump is saying. He says they're barbarians and we're civilized people and we need to fight them no matter where we come from.
Absolutely. You can't take anything off the table, can you, folks?
Not even the table.
No. Especially not the chairs. Ahead, Democrats are more determined than ever to win back the White House in 2020, and there's a lot of talk already about who may throw their hat in the ring. We've got a list of some of the possible top contenders, and our thoughts next.
America needs us.
Americans deserve strong, capable leaders, leaders who care about this country and care about its people.
That kind of sounds like you and me. I guess we got to do it. Come on, Joe. Let's go. We're doing it. Hey,
The Rock and Tom Hanks having some fun announcing a run in 2020 on Saturday Night Live. It may sound far off, but there's already a lot of buzz about possible contenders. Here are just a few on Politico's early field guide to 2020. Bernie Sanders on there, and so is Joe Biden. I had a prediction at the beginning of the year that Al Franken would definitely be on that list. He has a book that's coming out tomorrow, and he says he's not going to do that. Do you believe him, Jesse?
I do. I don't think Franken's going to run. I think he's going to stay in Minnesota and make jokes that no one laughs at. But I don't think these celebrities are going to work because I think what they're trying to do is do Trump light. And, you know, you have a celebrity, a businessman. Yeah, Trump left, Trump light. I don't think kind of imitating that works. I think you need a total contrast to President Trump. I think that could be more effective. I remember when Bush ran for re-election, they wanted John Kerry because he had experience in the military, and that was during the Iraq War. It doesn't really work. You need someone, and I hate to say it, you need someone the opposite of Trump, if you're a Democrat, to fire up the base and run a
Really?
contrast
So who would that
campaign.
be, Richard?
Elizabeth Warren, someone
No.
like that.
No.
And you know what? She doesn't pull punches.
No.
She would mock him.
All right, Richard.
It would be a tremendous
We're glad you're here.
race.
Who do you think on
I
this
have
list?
one contender.
Oh,
I
what,
thought he
only
should have
one?
been a contender
Okay.
in November.
All right.
Vice President Joe Biden.
Oh, well, he's going to be quite old.
Just as
Well,
old as
he'll only
Donald
be
Trump.
4 years older than President Trump if he were to.
And here's why. Here's the thing. So Democrats. I mean, there's a lot of arguments about why we lost this election. We can rehash it if we'd like. I won't. But part of
I'd
it
like
is
to, if you wanna. Yeah,
part of
we have
it
time.
is that we lost working class Americans. And there's one guy I would argue in the country that really gets working class folk. And that's Joe Biden, because he was one. His father was one. His father was an automobile salesman, I want to say. And we're talking about electrifying a crowd, right? You put Joe Biden in a room, and I mean, when I was with,
People are touched, literally.
A rubber room?
Gentle massage.
But in Philly, for example, during his speech, we were all there. We saw it. I mean, that arena. I think there were more applause during his speech than during Hillary Clinton's speech. So
Well,
my money's on Joe Biden.
That could be possible. There's other
I
people
love
on
Biden.
here.
Would you vote for him?
There's some Californians on here, Governor Jerry Brown, and also someone you might know, California Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom.
It's been widely rumored that I was married to him at one point in my life.
You win some, you knew some.
Oh, and I knew some.
Don't write a tell-all book.
Oh, no. Yeah, I think he would make a great governor. I think he's going to win. And I think he's always wanted to run for president is what I mean, kind
Did he tell you that?
Secret's out. But he's actually, he's very hardworking, super passionate about what he does. I mean, I think his party is very lucky to have him. I disagree with many of his policies, as he knows, but I appreciate his authenticity and definitely his passion about it.
But Greg, do you think a celebrity could run
No.
after 2016?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Dana?
Could you explain?
No. And yes. Okay, here's the thing. This is going to blow your minds. And everybody at home is going to go, he's absolutely right. The Gutfeld rule of 100. What happened 100 years before 2020? The right to vote for women. If you don't run on that, I mean, how can you lose?
Elizabeth Warren.
A woman, well, I would go with Gabbard. I think she's a yeah, Tulsi Gabbard. Even the woman whose name I keep forgetting in California that we talked.
Kamala Harris.
Yes. Okay.
she'd be
a strong, but the fact that it's
She's on the list.
100 years. Okay, so this you already have it built in. You have the slogan. It's like Tulsi, it's about damn time. It's 100 years. How can you go wrong with that? 100 years.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
All right, I'm done. I'll see you guys later.
You can't get better than that. Please leave.
Another person that's on here that I wonder what you think, Jesse, is Governor Andrew Cuomo. What do you think? Because two New Yorkers battle it out again?
I don't know about Cuomo. A couple years ago, he was really in a great trajectory, and I think he went really far left, unfortunately. He
I
banned
disagree.
fracking.
He's not left enough.
I disagree.
You think
I think
Cuomo isn't
he
left
has,
enough?
He has major problems with labor unions. There was a $1 million fight in New York between him
And he hates de
Teachers Union.
Blasio.
Teachers Union won.
I just don't know if he translates to the rest of the country.
Well, but I think he has the New York state of mind, and I think we're living the New York state of mind now in the White House. I'm not sure if we want to redo that.
Jesse's loving it. The New York state of mind is Jesse's.
I think he's going to run.
That's right.
what
I just like
The breaking news here is that Kimberly said she would vote for Joe Biden. They missed that.
Well,
Oh, no, this
I'm
is a
big into his
common theme.
platform, right? Remember
Yeah,
the
she loves
midnight.
What if Gavin
Boom.
did?
We got one more
Skinny dipping.
vote.
And what if Gavin run and got the nomination? Would you? What would you do?
If he was running against President Trump.
Yeah. Who would you? What would
Like, hey, you want to
happen?
get back together?
Trump card.
First lady, maybe.
What do you have to offer?
I'm going to let you off the hook, Kimberly, because directly ahead, we've got some advice for the class of 2017. We're back in a moment.
Live from America's News headquarters, I'm Kelly Wright in Washington. Here's what's happening. President Trump condemning the killings of two men who tried to stop a racist rant on a Portland, Oregon light rail train. The president saying, quote, the violent attacks in Portland are unacceptable. He also tweeted the victims were standing up to hate and intolerance. Our prayers are with them. The 23-year-old and 53-year-old men were killed Friday as they tried to stop the suspect from harassing two women, one of whom was wearing a hijab. Another man was seriously injured. Elsewhere in the news, golfing great Tiger Woods arrested in Florida on suspicion of DUI. Woods released a statement tonight disputing that alcohol was involved. He instead blames an unexpected reaction to prescribed medications. Woods, a 14-time major champion, is out for the rest of the season while recovering from his 4th back surgery. I'm Kelly Wright. Back to the 5.
Congratulations to the class of 2017, but welcome to the real world. Some big names have been dishing out advice to grads around the country.
Never, ever give up. Carry yourself with dignity and pride. Demand the best from yourself and be totally unafraid to challenge entrenched interests and failed power structures.
Don't lose your sense of humor. Do confront bullies. Don't procrastinate.
Whether you're a conservative or a liberal or a Republican or a Democrat, it doesn't matter as long as you believe that our common humanity matters most.
There is no life without a spiritual life. Practice being grateful. And a lot of people say, oh, Oprah, that's easy for you because you got everything. I got everything because I practiced being grateful.
It's become an annual tradition on the 5 for us to share our pearls of wisdom. So let's go around the table, starting with KG.
All right. So I like all the advice. Those are all great speeches. I think the one thing that I would say is no matter how much adversity you face in life, no matter how many times you come up against a roadblock, don't be afraid to be courageous and to try again and to never give up. I mean, you all ultimately are going to be your own best advocate to put forward your passions, your dreams, your desires, and represent yourself and be able to get people to believe in you and take a chance in you. And it's a powerful thing inside of you that we all have, and that desire to want to have a good life, to have a grateful life, like Oprah said. You know, it's a great feeling when you wake up in the morning and you go to bed at night and you're doing something you're passionate about, so it's worth fighting for.
Absolutely. Richard, what about you?
Well, I have 2 things. One, believe in the power of your dreams, and I say that constantly to all the folks that I mentor. If you believe in the power of dreams, you can achieve them. And the second thing, you will likely fail, but fail quickly. And remember, when you are failing, if you can look down at your feet, right, and I do this all the time, and if you can put one foot in front of the other, that means you still got a chance.
Very good.
Didn't you go to Chicago recently
I did.
with Ebony and, and someone else?
Gianna Codwell.
And so what was your message to them? Something
Same
similar?
thing.
Okay.
And great, and I mean, I love Lady O. And one of her quotes that literally sits on my office door is, "Gratefulness is the greatest prayer that anybody can ever have."
Lady O, wow, I didn't know you guys were so close. Dana.
Well,
my advice this year is just very practical, and that is get a job, take a job, any job. No, I'm serious.
I love it.
You know, there's so many parents now who, friends of a friend, you know, I'm sure this happens to everybody. Yeah. Can you help with the best internship ever? Can you help with this possible entry? And there's just not enough to go around at any one place. And so my recommendation is, don't wait 6 or 7 months for that perfect offer. Yep. It might not come. So in the meantime, while you wait for that perfect offer, take any job, and also go away. Move. Go do something different. Go work at a camp. Go do something fun and interesting. You're going to work the rest of your life. So take this time when you're young and excited. Go see something new, and it will definitely pay dividends later on.
Can't believe I'm saying this, but I agree with Dana.
Wow. Great advice, Journal.
I also took any job that would have me. I was a bellhop at a hotel for a few months after I graduated from college, and it was the best job I've ever had.
A lot of tips.
I made a lot of tips.
Yeah.
I learned how to hustle for money, and learned that I didn't want to be a bellhop for the rest of my life.
And I bet you're nice to all the bellhops now.
Oh, yeah, I tip them big.
Exactly.
You got to give them something they could rub together with their fingers.
Did you pop your collar?
No, I did not. A few times I would try to, I would go, there was an attractive girl that would pull up, and I'd have to check her in, and I'd bring the bags up, and I'd leave them at the door, and I'd say, "Is there anything else?" And then she'd say, no, and then I'd realize I was wearing a bellhop uniform. I said, "Oh, yeah, no kidding." Greg.
Wow, that was humiliating. Awkward.
My post-college advice, give up. Don't be courageous. Do as little as possible. Procrastinate. Don't challenge anyone. Don't be grateful. Don't dream. My point is, it's too late for you. Because I have advice for people who are in college.
Okay.
If you want to be successful after college, in college, you have to abandon identity politics, because what happens after college is it creates a visible chip on your shoulder that you can see from space, and no job recruiter is going to want to hire somebody who sees and expresses themselves as a perpetual victim. When you give off the idea that you are a victim, nobody wants to be around you. I want to paraphrase Shelby Steele. He said when he deals with someone in the thrall of grievance culture, he always asks them, what would you say if you weren't a victim? What would you do if you didn't think as a victim? Embracing victimhood allows an off-ramp from testing your abilities and taking advantage of the opportunities in your world. By constantly just saying, I'm a victim, you have the world around you that offers so many things, but you're angry.
Yeah.
You got to let that go.
Turns into planned resentments.
That's right.
Because you're a victim, you operate from zero to begin.
I would never hire that person.
The anger.
I wouldn't hire you.
Oh, really? Yeah, and just don't take Gutfeld's
I don't
job.
need you to hire me.
Summer is a season of
create
blockbuster
my own
movies.
job.
One of them is a big remake. Our thoughts on the new and improved Wonder Woman up next.
Memorial Day is the unofficial start of summer, and that means big-budget blockbuster movies will be dominating theaters. One of the most anticipated films of the summer is Wonder Woman. You may remember the 1970s TV classic starring Linda Carter.
Wonder Woman.
So cool.
Gal Gadot stars in the 2017 movie remake. Here's a clip.
Who's this young woman?
She's my,
Diana.
You will soon find out.
So clearly, movie remakes are this new trend because theaters run out of new ideals. But with that being said, I think the ideal of superheroes, they can be remade all the time. Case in point, I was an X-Men watcher as a kindergartner.
Oh
I
my
watched this
God. You're young. Older, you.
Oh, Lord. I actually... Well,
Make me feel old.
I'm 30. I'm happily 30. And so I watch all of the now X-Men remakes because I was a big
You liked
X-Men fan to
X-Men.
begin with. But with that being said, there are other remakes coming out like Top Gun, which I don't plan on seeing.
Oh, really? Yeah, I just
No
heard
Top
about
Gun?
that. Yeah, that Cruise is going to do.
No.
Top Gun.
I'm kind of the same. I don't like the remake idea very much. Though The Great Gatsby, that was pretty good.
We have a
Leonardo
we have a
DiCaprio.
clip of this Top Gun sucker. Let's take a look.
Talk to me, Goose. Roger, I got him. Contact 20 left at 30 miles, 900 knots closure. I feel the need for speed.
That remake looked exactly like their.
That is the old one.
Tom Cruise never ages.
They're
Yeah, he
currently
looks good.
producing the new one, and you know. So, what's your take on?
Wait, can I just
Oh,
can
go
I
ahead.
just say something because before,
Maverick and Iceman.
it's not about that sequels are bad. It's that they never do the right sequels to the right movies. So it's like, for example, they've never done a sequel to Seven, which is a fantastic movie. I haven't
Really terrible.
I haven't.
They call that 8?
They would call it 8, and in it, Gwyneth Paltrow's head would be reanimated by lightning and then wreak havoc in upscale aromatherapy shops in Soho. She ends up getting killed by Brad Pitt.
I want to tell you something. I think you actually, for real, might have problems. Before it was like a joke.
What
That
about
is
what
so
a sequel to
disturbing.
Deliverance? I want to know what happened to the family.
It's getting
So
worse
clearly
by
what
the
happened to
minute.
the family?
Clearly,
What's next? Hannibal Lecter?
Hollywood
Freddy
knows to cater
Krueger,
how to cater
Chucky?
to you.
Yes.
But Dana, how do you feel about remakes?
I'm not the biggest fan of them, though I do know that because now that I am older and there are younger people, and if I make a reference to Pretty in Pink or Fast Times at Ridgemont High,
Yeah.
young people, you've never seen them?
Spicoli.
Hey,
You don't know
I got
Spicoli?
Dana,
He
I got
doesn't know.
that in,
He's never seen Fast
Okay,
Times.
so your homework before you can
played
never
this
come
in
on the 5 again is to watch those 2 movies.
we played this
on.
in charades at your house in
Which one?
Palmetto Bluff. Remember, and I guessed Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
That's wrong.
Well, I guess the whole audience really needed that information,
You know,
Kimberly.
you're still jealous about that weekend. I know it.
You're like the kid that got invited to the birthday party and has to tell everybody.
We didn't watch any movies.
And I
though.
slept in that awesome bed, you know, downstairs. The
You
front
don't want to know
bedroom.
what's in that bed.
Were you there?
Oh boy.
Talking about front beds, Dirty Dancing is also doing a remake by ABC, and I saw that. I took a look at the clip, and I got to tell you, that baby, you could put that baby back in the corner.
Oh my gosh, it's bad.
It is bad.
So this is the new one, or is this the original here? This is the original?
No, this is the new. This is the preview for the new one.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look that dirty to me.
No, this doesn't look good. I think
doesn't look good at all.
Wonder Woman to me looks exceptional. That looks outstanding. She looks like she could kill ISIS. I'm totally into it. Also, the Top Gun one, and I have both of those costumes.
They should do a
And Maverick
sequel
and
to The
Wonder Woman.
Graduate. Like, what happened after? It's like they're going off. He ruins the wedding, right? And they're going to be married. You know, in 2 months you're going to be divorced. I want to see that movie.
You know what movie they're actually
you mean
doing
you
a
want to
remake
be
of?
in it?
Al Gore is doing a remake of
Climate
Inconvenient
Change.
Truth.
Yeah, it's true.
That's actually happening.
I would like to see a prequel of Jaws. What was that shark doing before?
It was
Just
growing
swimming around.
Just swimming around.
It was on National Geographic.
It
I
was
think you
eating
have-
people, getting bigger.
I think you do have a lot of sequels to Jaws because you have Sharknado, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
Jaws
there's
5.0.
Jaws 2. There's
Oh,
Jaws
that's
3, which was
Bowling's favorite
3D,
is
which was
Sharknado.
great. But I want prequels. I want to know what happened before it happened. Like Die Hard. How did those terrorists, what were they planning beforehand? Like Gruber. Hans Gruber. I want to know more about Hans Gruber.
Wait, do you like prequels? Do you like sequels?
I like
You just
NyQuil.
don't like That's awesome.
NyQuil is when you watch a sequel at night while you're drunk.
You're not supposed to mix that with
You're not supposed to
alcohol.
mix that with.
You put it in pudding.
With cough syrup.
No, you're
Right.
Are
supposed
you
to.
serious?
I don't know what I'm saying at this point. It's just the mouth moving. Unconnected to the brain.
Only
You can
on
get us
Memorial
out of
Day
here, Richard.
Up next, we'll be talking about some of the things you don't do anymore because of technology. Are robots taking over?
Yes.
Stay tuned.